Hello and welcome to Sounds Heal podcast. I am your host, Natalie Brown, and thank you so much for joining me as we continue to explore the fields of sound healing, sound therapy, and generally the use of sound for health and wellness. Today, our guest is Priyanka Patel, a dedicated sound practitioner, teacher, and founder of Sound Healing India. Our conversation I found to be truly insightful. We explored what led her into sound work, including a pivotal moment when her teacher said to her, "Stop looking for sound in an instrument and start seeking sound on the inside." That was the spark that set her on a deeper path, guiding her to Nod Yoga and to the true essence of sound. Being in India and me being in America, we dive into the fascinating, I suppose, comparison between Eastern and Western approaches to sound healing, as well as the state of the field, the origins of Himalayan bowls, and we also talk about the often overlooked importance of a strong code of ethic in this work. We discuss the aspects and how important in our work it is to have a focus of being a facilitator, a practitioner, rather than a healer, a fixer. That was really an interesting discussion. And the role of mantra in daily life in India, how it's woven into the fabric of existence. And of course, we talk about the power of the voice, the breath, vibration, and the incredible ways sound can shift our state of being. This was such a thoughtful and informative discussion. I can't wait for you to hear it. This podcast is sponsored by the Om Shop and Spa, located in Sarasota, Florida, and online at theomshop.com. If you're looking for that special tool, if you're looking to up-level your sound healing practitioner instruments, the Om Shop has such a variety, many custom instruments, and they can really offer a lot of advice if you're looking for something specific. They also have a luxury spa and trainings, workshops, if you're able to make it there in person. Thanks so much to the Om Shop for their support and sponsorship. Okay, welcome in, Priyanka. It is so wonderful to have you join us for the podcast.
Thank you. Thank you, Natalie. It's wonderful to be here. Thank you for inviting me. And I'm so looking forward to understanding and most importantly, having this conversation, understanding sounds from the two various perspectives,
Me
where
too.
the two different continents are involved, two different cultures are involved. We come from two different places altogether. So, yes, I really am looking forward to this.
Well, let's start a bit with your background, if you could share, and maybe perhaps those highlights, the things that, you look back on now and you realize those were really influential to me, both in sound and spirit, that led you to where you are now.
Sure. I think the more that I dive into this subject of sound today, I realize that as a child, I was always involved into chanting mantras and meditating. And I used to also learn classical singing, vocal singing. So, utilizing the power of sound, chanting mantras has always been a part of my life. It's just that I didn't know that the sound also can heal. And there is a strong fundamental base. There is science to it. There is this whole science that supports this healing. And sound can heal was something very fascinating and very new to me when I actually stepped into this world a decade back. But before which, yes, since I was always into um, meditating, into learning singing and chanting of mantras, I think it has always been a part of my life.
Was there something that sparked you, or how did you find sound healing, as we call it now?
Well, to be very honest, I didn't know what a singing bowl ever was. So before I um, started learning or exploring the healing possibilities with a singing bowl, I hadn't seen one before. So I had no idea what a bowl looks like or what a bowl feels like, nothing at all. But when I actually um, saw a singing bowl on the internet, I was really fascinated and I only wanted to understand what it actually does. It was only the curiosity to understand the instrument, and that's about it. I had no idea that this little singing bowl and the vibrations actually have the healing power, and that have the power where with which you can actually sit and meditate on your breath. I had no idea about any of it. So I kind of registered myself to one of these classes where I only wanted to educate myself in understanding that there is something called as sound healing, and there is an instrument called as singing bowl that just works and people work with it. Okay. And it was just a curiosity that led to these many years of exploring this one particular subject. And I have been only exploring it since then.
Right. Yeah. Once you lean into it, it's pretty limitless, right? There's a lot of different things that we can to learn and continue to expand. And so maybe mention some of those. You've taken a variety of trainings, both with people here in the States, Thomas Orr Anderson, Mitch Noor, and then, Yen Zygar, of course, Nada Yoga, and things over in your world. Can you talk about that variety and maybe actually what you noticed um, that you were really gravitated towards, or what was different in those trainings?
When I started learning sound therapy, I had not known about anything called as Nadyog that time. I believe that sound therapy was all about singing bowls. I had no clue about tuning forks. I had no clue about gongs. I didn't know any other instrument because that's exactly how it was promoted. Sound therapy, even today for that matter, people think sound therapy is all about singing bowl therapy. And that's how I had also limited myself to exploring or picking up different sound bowls wherever I traveled or whoever I met. And only until I met one of my teachers, one of my masters, who actually introduced me to this subject called NAD. And he mentioned that it was that day I remember very clearly where he mentioned that stop looking for sound in an instrument and start seeking sound on the inside. And I think that's where my true journey into sound began. I don't think I've learned since then, I've learned sound as a healing modality or a healing tool or a healing technique. I've only learned to seek sound, to explore sound by developing the the listening skills. And every teacher that I've met, none of them have actually taught me an instrument. They've taught me all about the subject sound. No one told me that, use your voice and heal your stomach ache. No one told me that pick up this instrument and heal your headache. I have been fortunate to not learn healing with sounds, and I've been extremely fortunate to simply learn the subjects of sound. And the more I dive deeper into this subject, the more I realize that healing with sound is the by default benefit of it. What's happening is your perspective is changing. What's happening is your reaction towards your life are changing. What's happening is you are slowing down. What's happening is you are responding. I think um, I have changed as a person altogether. Um, I remember I used to be so reactive. I would get angry. I would get upset at life. There were questions. There was self doubt. There was self judgment. I don't think any of those have place anymore because The more you, even if it is with singing bowl or if I'm exploring my voice, any of these instruments for that matter, you are trying to internalize the effect of that sound. You're trying to go within and understand the effect of that sound on your mind and body. And that's exactly how you're exploring the effect of the sound. Sometimes it heals, yes. Suppose you're angry and that you feel, sorry, you feel that all your anger has released, but sometimes that past emotion, which was once suppressed under the carpet, surfaces. Those emotions do get triggered. They come on the surface level, and you have no choice but to acknowledge those emotions. And when you actually acknowledge those emotions, you realize that deep down, you are supposed to, for that matter, accept the way your life in the past was with today's awareness. So I think what I've realized with sound is that your suppressed emotions get a channel, your awareness is expanding, and you're deeply connected with your inner self.
Yeah,
So,
that's beautifully said. And it's a really good point you started off with there that, of course, you want to be able to play your instruments well, but actually, the way in is just how to do you have a relationship with sound, in your life, right? In the stillness, in listening, and just getting sensitivities when you listen to both external and internal sounds, right? And really use that as a tool for meditation, that when we do incorporate bowls and gongs, that it's almost just creating this container for our client to move whatever they need to, right? Just to have that experience, right? Not necessarily that if I use this bowl, it'll heal a headache, right? It's just creating this container for them to transform whatever they need to, in a way. Yeah. That's kind of what I'm gathering.
true, true,
Yeah.
so true. I think our job as sound practitioners, since we also use the instruments and we believe in the power of sound, right? One thing that is very clear in my head is I'm not a musician and I'm not going to perform. I'm a sound practitioner and I practice sounds. That's about it. I'm also not a sound healer because I don't believe that I can heal people. All that I can do is I can create an ambience with the sounds that I'm playing, as simple as that. And people who are there as participants who receive sounds, who are listening to the sounds, they have an idea of how they are listening to the sounds, how the sound is affecting them. Because I don't actually tell them, or I don't invite them with a perspective already that come join a sound bath with me where you will heal your problems. I will never do that. Instead, I will invite them to come join me, explore the possibilities of sound, and come with an intention, have a purpose, and only then do register or join the sound baths. Don't do it. It's not a sleep therapy. Don't come only to relax yourself. You can also go and relax yourself in different ways. You can simply go for a walk or sit by the river or do so many things to relax yourself. But sound is meditative. So come with an intention, come with a purpose, and hold that intention very close within your heart. So I think also what's important is our approach to our work, how we look at sounds, how we talk about it, how we announce our courses, how we announce our sound baths. I think we are responsible, right, as sound practitioners. And the way we lead the sound bath is exactly the way people will also receive and perceive it. So don't you think we actually are very responsible in creating all the content that we do on the social media?
That's true, right? We're setting up an expectation, based on what we say. So I think you're right. I think creating just a space for people to each have their own experiences, um, and it is a responsibility that we have, but it's also a responsibility that they have. That's when we're placing the healing in their hands, right? It's not up to us. We're just creating that environment, that atmosphere. And I'm curious, having done that, this approach that you're talking about, people do have miracles. People do have these amazing experiences. I just wondered if you wanted to share a couple of amazing things that you've witnessed doing this work, if you're able to.
Yeah. So uh, a week ago, I remember this gentleman who walked in for a personal session for a sound therapy. And it was his very first time with me. And he came up with relationship problems. So after a little bit of counseling that we had, oh yes, I'm not a counselor. I'm not a psychologist, so people should definitely know that. But a little bit of talking that we did, I have learned family constellations, and my work um, in this world is the combination of family constellations and sound therapy. I combine the two modalities together, and somewhere I am I've always been keen on working on relationship. And what I've realized in my journey is the more we work towards building a deeper connection with our physical self and emotional self, the healing of the past is much more easier and also possible. So that's how my work has been. So this gentleman who comes to me, and all that we did that day in 1.5 hours was a little bit of talking on the relationship front. And then I gave him a little exercise of humming. I asked him to practice humming for 10 minutes every day just before he went to bed. And I gave him like a homework for 1 week. And he comes back today. Today, when he came back, and he says that, Priyanka, I am surprised that I'm not only sleeping better, but I'm waking up not with a negative thought, but I'm waking up also not with positive thoughts, but I'm waking up with a perspective, with a changed perspective that I can create my own thought as soon as I wake up in the morning. And I think this little change for me is also healing. Someone who was not able to sleep sound, someone who had negative thoughts upon waking up, someone who for someone it was so hard for him to um, go off to sleep, someone who was constantly on the screen before going to the bed. If these little changes have helped him only after practicing humming, then why do I need an instrument when I already have an instrument of my own? I had hypertension a few years back after COVID, and 1 month of chanting along with yoga without any medicines, I overcame hypertension. No medicines at all. And I was only diagnosed with hypertension. It took me a week's time to accept hypertension. There was a lot of fear that I realized, but 1 month of chanting and yoga, and I would monitor my blood pressure levels. Within a month's time, I was okay. And it's been what, 5 years now? 4 years now? Yeah.
That's right. Yeah, humming, chanting, mantra. I mean, those things regulate so many things. And of course, there's science now that shows that, but the origins of that are quite ancient. So maybe let's go into that. That's really interesting that sound healing, the field, the term is fairly new. But some of these practices are really ancient. And before we started recording, you were mentioning how mantra showed up in your life early on versus kind of what's discussed about it now. Can you talk about that a little bit?
So mantras are a part of our routine in India, okay? We we wake up chanting a mantra. We before we sleep, we chant a mantra. Before we eat food, we chant a mantra. Before we sip water, we chant a mantra. So chanting mantra has been a part and parcel of our life. Okay. As the child is born, while the child is taking birth, we chant mantra. Like I remember when my daughter was born, as soon as I delivered her, my mother, who was in the labor room with me, started chanting a mantra in her ears. So before she was exposed to different sounds, she was exposed to a mantra. Okay. All throughout the 9 months, I was chanting the same mantra um, for the overall well being, for my emotional well being, for my mental well being. So, when we are pregnant here in India, our mother-in-law, our mothers, all the elders in the house, they don't teach us anything else, but they only teach us to be positive. And how to be positive? How do you live positively here in India? Not by affirmations or manifesting. You go to temple, you follow your rituals, you eat healthy, you eat right, you drink pure water, okay, you walk, you are constantly in a moving state. You don't sit idle and do nothing. These are the ways we live. It's just how we live here in India. Okay, there's nothing new about it. um so mantra chanting has been a part of all our lives. Okay, but what's interesting here to know, Natalie, is we never chant a mantra expecting any healing out of it. We chant a mantra as an offering to the deity. When we enter a temple, we chant a mantra. And there are different mantras that we chant during different times of the day. Not just that, but also suppose there's any problem that I'm going through. Okay, so whatever mantra that I have learned and have been practicing for so many years now, all that I'll do is, with all my faith in it, I'll simply chant. So the faith in the power of that mantra, I think, helps us sail and eventually live a beautiful life. So sound healing is very new, but chanting mantras on everyday basis has been a part of our routine. From the eldest in the family to the youngest, everyone chants a mantra. On different occasions, during different ceremonies, we just chant mantras.
Yeah, that's really interesting for several reasons. I mean, people certainly use mantras here, and I would say, a portion of the sound healing community understands the power of Sanskrit in particular. But there's also, as people go to these trainings and learn different instruments, I would say sometimes the voice is avoided. Actually, people can have some fear of using their voice, at least here, but it sounds like there it's kind of built in from childhood that you're using your voice. Do you think that's true, or do you think more people are starting to use instruments in the work?
Um, there are two angles to look at it, this subject. When you're in a temple and when you are chanting along with people, you automatically surrender to the power of those chants and bhajans going on. Okay, the power of the sound and the vibrations and the sound of the bells and the chimes in the temple is such that nothing can have any power over you. You will automatically start chanting along with the group. So you will open your voice, and that automatically brings a shift in your energy. Okay. However, in the healing journey, when I see clients on day-to-day basis, I've seen that those who have suppressed emotions, and to them, if I ask them to open their mouth to even hum or to chant, uh, their voice is a suppressed voice. They are holding on to their voice. They can't really express through their voice. And I'm not even talking about expressing an emotion or verbalizing how they are feeling. I'm only talking about humming. Their humming voice is also a suppressed voice. So there are completely two ways of looking at it. And also these people who have these suppressed emotions will not really chant loudly. They'll not even open their mouth to chant. When they talk, when they chant, their lips don't really open up. So these are the kind of things that we can observe on their body language.
Yes, that makes sense. And, you would hope they would do that. They need more of that, even humming. Uh, that could really help with that expression. Yeah. And now I'm kind of curious. Definitely sound healing, wellness has been a trend um, for a long time, I would say. It's been a progression. I mean, definitely the past 10 years. Absolutely. Since the pandemic until now, even more so, right? The last 5 years. I remember, so I was in Rishikesh, India in 2017 for Nod yoga training. And I remember walking around in some of the stalls in the markets had just stacks and stacks of singing bowls, right? Just stacks of them. Um, and I think some people might have misinformation over here that those are, well, either antique or, that's the origin of the bowls, right? And you go there to be closer to the origin of this, but you're saying that that's new there too. I mean, how do you think that's progressed over there? Are more and more people using these instruments? But what's kind of the nature of how that developed into at least a mindset over here that, oh, bowls have been used in India for hundreds of years? And it sounds like you're saying that's very new there too.
Okay. All thanks to Mitch, who I was associated with and who I assisted into this research, right? And well, very honestly, singing bowls, yes, come from India, but singing bowls were never used as healing tools or therapeutic tools here in India. This culture has been accepted by us and it comes from the Western world. All right. It was never, never, never Indian. All right. Now, when I say singing bowls were Indian, okay, these singing bowls were the utensils in my kitchen. And as simple as that. Look, Kasa, bronze, is the metal, it's a bell metal, right? We understand that. Now, this bell metal has been a part of our families, our houses, our culture for the longest. Bell metal is used in making of the bells. Can you see the bell right there? It's a bronze bell, okay? And these bronze bells are used in the temples, right? Um, we use utensils made up of bronze. We serve food, our plates, our thalis, our bowls, our spoons, our glasses, they're all made up of kasa. We eat our food in bronze. So bronze has been a part of our culture, but singing bowl as a therapeutic tool was never a part of our culture. So it's very, very, it's new, as in it must have come to India, I think in 1970s, if I'm not wrong, or 1960s. I'm not too sure of the date and the year, but never before that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's so interesting. And of course, there's nothing wrong with that. They're still valuable, but sometimes there's a
Of course.
misunderstanding, I think, of the origins and the use of them. So what have you seen, in 10 years of people coming into what is now sound healing there? Is it a very popular? How has it developed?
It's I think sound healing today in India has become a trend. Um, everyone is trying to teach sound therapy. Everyone is talking about singing bowls. Everyone is into manufacturing of singing bowls. Everyone has singing bowls, and there is still a question mark in the community to how is it even possible. Making of a singing bowl is not an easy job. It's the work of an artisan. I have met these artisans, and I remember one of these artisans telling me that when we are making these bowls, we wait for the desired sound. Only when we hear that sound is when we understand that now the bowl is in its right shape and form. It's a skill of an artist. Can I make a singing bowl? I don't think so. No. So, over this 10 years, when we started, I think hardly people knew what sound therapy was or what singing bowl would do and how it can help people heal or meditate or has even healing benefits and power. But today, I think everyone knows about sound therapy and it's spreading. I think how is it there in America? How is it in the States?
Yeah, I would say, like you're saying, past 10 years, so many trainings, so many workshops. It's definitely a trend. I would think the majority of people have heard of it now. And you just see um, people popping up with a singing bowl. Crystal bowls are quite popular here. Um, but also gongs and singing bowls and other instruments. I think people are kind of merging different traditions. The didgeridoo will come in. Um, and so some people are more on the, I would say, actually performing aspect and just creating this massive soundscape and sound bath. And there's other people, maybe a lesser amount, that do more one-on-one sessions. And there's just a wide variety of what all that means, right? I would say the big thing we're seeing is people either not having any training, which could be okay. Maybe it's intuition based, but there are, people just taking a 1 day or even online couple hour uh, course and just going off and offering. So there's kind of a conflict of what is quality, responsibility, and integrity in the field. Do you see that there too? There's just about everything being offered.
Yeah, that's true. That's everywhere. But I remember Mitch saying this one thing during one of his classes, and he said that it's important that how we look at our work, our code of conduct is very, very important. And I think we should simply focus on that. And another teacher of mine, I remember say she always says that remember you know nothing and keep learning and keep seeking the subject. And that's the only way that you will continue being there with that subject. Once you know that you know everything, that's the biggest loss that you will ever face in your life. So
That's
I
so
think
true.
I keep these two things very closest to my heart. One, code of conduct, the way you work with your sounds, your approach, the way you look at your sound, the way you worship it. And two, keep learning, keep seeking.
I can agree with that wholeheartedly. Absolutely. Yeah. I was curious when you were talking about the bowls, and the bowls go through a lot to be made, right? It's a very intense process. There's fire, there's hammering. There is over here, a big thing about, oh, well, you need this note, you need this frequency to heal this, or this is the miracle frequency. I don't know if you see that over there at all, but this is definitely kind of a marketing thing going on, that if people were to actually know how the bowls are made, that they're not using a tuner to find out exactly what frequency or hertz it is. It's just like you said, they're making the bowl, and when it sounds right, when they feel that bowl is at its highest capacity, its highest good, then it's complete, right? It's not necessarily about the note. Is that the case there?
Yes, there is. Sadly, unfortunately, there is. There is. I will not deny that. There are people who believe in frequencies. There are people who believe that there is this particular frequency that is going to heal your headache, and there is this particular bowl that is going to take care of your kidneys, all of it. And that's why I um, keep posting it on the social media over and over again, that please do not limit yourself to an instrument. Please understand that the bowl is producing a sound, and we can't forget the sound part of it. And this sound also has a vibration, that which you can feel physically on your body. The way I feel the vibrations on my body and the way you feel the vibrations on your body is going to be completely different, right? It's always going to be very, very different, right? And then how can that same bowl have the same frequency, and how can it take care of my kidney pain or my lower backache or my digestive issues? How is that even possible? I don't know. I I have no idea about it, because again, I come from the perspective where I still want to explore sounds, when I still want to understand that every time I pick up a bowl, or I pick up a gong for that matter, or I'm opening my mouth to chant, how am I feeling? What's going on inside me? Am I able to center myself? Am I able to ground myself? How am I behaving throughout the day? How my thought levels are? Am I getting angry? Am I wise? Am I honest? I probably would like to see all of these things inside me, instead of saying that if this frequency is uh, increasing the love in my life, or raising my energy. I don't know. It's bizarre. The world of sound healing is going on a different tangent altogether, and it does worry me sometimes. It does. And hence, as I said, that I also consider myself to be responsible to create content on the social media that's as wise as the experience itself, and it's not random and vague.
Right. There's really a purpose. Yeah. I mean, it seems like we do have more similarities than differences as far as what's going on in our sound healing communities. And the feeling is, whether it's what notes, what tones you're using, or even like you said, when you offer a session is to be open, because to actually constrict or limit yourself to this frequency, almost as if it's a sound pill, or to limit yourself to a particular purpose and telling people this is what I'm doing for you, this is what you'll experience. It kind of shuts the door on different possibilities, that they might have completely different experiences and actual healing, we might say, if we don't limit it in that way. Yeah. So it seems like we do have quite a bit of similarities what are happening. Yeah.
Absolutely, because I think all of us are seeking sound, right? All of us are trying to understand the power of sound. We are trying to understand what really is happening with it. And um, I think what's really important is to understand that why do I need it in my life? If I have a singing bowl, I can't have a singing bowl just because I have money with me. I can't have a singing bowl just because it's fascinating, or I'm attracted to it. Is there a purpose to it? And and don't you think, when I pick up a singing bowl and if I start playing it, what happens after the sound, after I finish playing it? Am I able to experience silence afterwards? So many people come and tell me that, your sound bath was beautiful. I experienced that inner calmness. I was feeling extremely peaceful. It was serene and the sounds were soothing and everything else. But my only question to them was, what was your takeaway from that class? What happened afterwards? What happened after you went back into your routine? Were you able to slow down? Were you able to experience silence within? Were you able to carry forward that silence? Were you able to breathe deeply? Did you allow yourself to take a pause where there was a situation where you would have reacted otherwise? So, internalizing the effect of sound is extremely important. And most of the sound baths or the one-on-one sessions that I must have seen, I've seen that people expressing how they did not realize that there was this emotion within and they have suppressed it for the longest time. And if we can only give ourselves a chance to experience life emotionally in that 1 hour, with all our surrender, with all our faith in the process of sound. Silence, I think, is an important part there. There
Right.
can't be sound without silence.
Yeah, it's just as important as the sounds, and it can encourage more silence and more pause in their life, which is, really what most people need. I think the opposite causes more stress, right? So, yeah. And what you were saying encourages people just to be aware of, was I more silent? Did I have more stillness after this session? And it kind of gets them thinking about, oh, I could maybe create, set myself up for that instead of just running to the next thing. So they can have that awareness too of how they can create that in their lives.
True, because I think when we actually experience sound, there's a lot of movement that we experience within us, right? There are a lot of thoughts that upsurge, there are a lot of emotions that we start feeling. So sound kind of moves everything within you. But only when you go into silence is when you can understand what was moving there. You can observe that movement. And I think that's how you internalize the whole effect of sound. And silence, I don't mean silence as the absence of sound. I would consider silence here as the non-doing state. And eventually, as we start meditating on the sound, is when we experience true silence, the stillness from within. Initial work with sounds is all about feeling that movement within on the physical level, mental level, emotional level. And then in the silence, in the non doing state, where you're able to observe what happened within you. And then further, when you continue experiencing the sound, once you're able to take care of yourself here, when you're able to let go of what was not required, or when you've actually when you've actually given a channel to your emotions, is when you will start experiencing the meditative power of sound, and then dissipate into silence and stay still with that silence.
Yeah, I think that's an important distinction that, I mean, silence is a paradox. There's always something going on in the sound. When is it ever actually silent? So just being attuned to that energy of stillness, the still point. Yeah, that's a great distinction. So tell us about your work now, right? Sound Healing India, what you're offering through your business. What does that look like?
My aim has always been one. I want people, I want people to understand the power of sound. And I am involved into corporate work. I take sessions at larger scale as well, but I'm not a performer. All the sound baths that I facilitate are with one single intention of creating a meditative experience. If you ask me, am I successful at it? I am not sure, because that only depends upon the participants, how they experience it. I believe in doing my work, and I continue doing um, with all my heart. I am majorly focused on one-on-one sessions, the emotional well-being. What I'm noticing um, in and around. Earlier, the work revolved around women, their emotional well-being, but it's interesting to see. It's really interesting, and it's heartwarming to see that today even men are open towards healing. They feel safe, and they are ready to open their hearts and to emotionally heal themselves. So my work majorly revolves around emotional well-being through sound therapy. And why sound therapy? Because I think sound is one medium that helps us center ourselves instantly. It brings the wandering mind back to the present moment. It gives you immense clarity. It helps you to rest and restore. It allows you to surrender. It helps you connect to your physical body. There are these little things that happen with sound, which sometimes we don't even pay attention to. And as I mentioned that um, family constellations is something that I practice genuinely for myself. But there are those few suggestions that are made during the sessions as well. Yeah. So our relationship with ourselves, I think, is what one must start focusing upon. How consciously am I able to live? How am I breathing? I I completely forgot to mention this during our conversation, Natalie, that with sound, the ultimate work that happens is the work on our breath. Only when I feel healed, or only when the healing starts happening, is how my breath is restored. And as my breath is being restored is how the healing happens. May it be a singing bowl, may it be a gong, or may it be the power of my voice, any instrument that I use. The ultimate work that is happening is on the work on my breath. Till the work does not happen on the breath, nothing changes. So our focus actually goes on a lot on the breath as well, along with the sound.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that. Thanks for bringing that in. That's so important. I mean, it has everything to do with our health and vitality is our breath, the quality of our breath. So I'm curious, in your work, what are you excited about right now? Maybe there's something you're curious about or diving into. Maybe you're wanting to learn something new. What are you feeling emerge coming ahead that you're excited about?
The urge to the urge is not to learn any instrument anymore. I don't want to pick up an instrument and learn to play it. Uh, 5, 6 years back, 8 years back, I was interested in learning how to play a gong more effectively, how to use different singing bowls, how to use different tuning forks, etc. That urge has completely gone. What I am extremely curious right now is to understand how sounds can affect one's emotion, how it can help them overcome the emotional pain, overcome trauma, how sound can affect one's breath, how is the breathing changing. I'm curious about all of that presently, um, because our breath also has a sound, right? Are we listening or are we aware of the sound of our breath? Are we aware of the rhythm in which we are breathing? Are we aware of the rhythm of our heartbeat? Am I even listening to my own voice? Does my voice sound like my original voice? My curiosity is around all these things currently. And the more I meet people and the more I listen to them chanting, and the more we chant together, we work together, it's in resonance, it's in harmony, it's in one consciousness that together we all rise and heal. Mm. So my curiosity is truly around exploring the power of voice and its effect on our breath and our body.
That's wonderful. That's a wonderful progression through just learning many instruments, right? When we first get into this, we're so curious about it all, and that's a great way to learn and connect with the instruments. But you're right. I think it then comes down to us, right? We're the instrument, right? It doesn't need to be this thing outside of us, and those instruments are very beautiful, and there's great uses for them. But we have our own vibration, breath, the voice to focus on and really tune and help others realize that, if there is a healer, if there is healing, it's within us. Yeah.
So true, so beautifully said.
Yeah.
If there is a healer and if there is healing, then it is within us.
Yeah.
Beautiful. So beautifully said, Natalie. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Well, you sparked that. Thank you very much. And is there anything else you want to, before we wrap up, share with the audience or ask anything else?
I have been telling this to every client of mine, and I have been uh, suggesting this to everyone that I meet. I would love to suggest this to you and all the viewers as well. Go back to your mother, go back to your father, go back to anyone in your house, any elders. Find someone who can, not a stranger per se, but someone from your family. Ask them to help you with a prayer, with a chant, with a mantra. Start chanting it over and over and over again till the frequency of that mantra or the frequency of that prayer resonates into each and every cell of your body. Let the cells of your body start vibrating to the frequency of that mantra. Because that mantra or that prayer do not have any number. There is no number frequency given to it. When that mantra or that chant or that prayer is something that you will chant with all your faith, you will automatically see its power. And that which comes from your parent, you'll be able to connect with that even more. Don't look for an affirmation, don't look for anything else. Look for that which you can get and receive from your parents. Because the life that you're living today is the life that you receive from your parents. The voice that you have within is the voice that you receive from your parents. Your heartbeat, your breath, everything about you is that which you receive from them. And it is the same breath and it is the same heartbeat that carries all the patterns from them into you. And you have developed your conscience. And the fact that you've developed your conscience, You are out here to live and honor your life. Would that not be the biggest gift for your parents? So own your voice, listen to your voice, speak with all your heart, and you will automatically speak wise.
Wow, that's very powerful. And to be able to connect and resonate with a parent, an elder, um, is to resonate with life itself. That's just so beautifully said. Thank you so much, Priyanka. I really appreciate this. It's so wonderful to meet you in this way and to learn more about you. Thank you so very much.
Thank you, Natalie. Thank you so much for this beautiful conversation. I hope this helps all the viewers, and I hope people like you, me, and all of us keep spreading the joy of healing and the importance of sound therapy. Thank you. Thank you so much for having me here.
Thank you. Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Sounds Heal Podcast, sponsored by the Om Shop and Spa. You can keep up to date with what's coming up next at soundshealstudio.com, on Instagram, Natalie Brown Sounds Heal, on Facebook, Sounds Heal Studio, and listen to meditations, music, and podcasts on the YouTube channel, Sounds Heal Studio. Thanks again for listening and for your support. Be well and stay tuned.